Iose Epenesa is the star of this recruiting class, but there's another player under the radar that very well could help the Hawkeyes next season. We get into recruiting, we talk about basketball, and of course, the week ahead for Iowa sports today. Locked on Hawkeyes.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We're available wherever you find podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube. While you're there, hit that subscribe button. Helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. You can kick off this season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, let's look at this recruiting class. Wednesday was signing days for Iowa football, and just going to run through these guys quickly. We got Tom Kakert coming up from HawkeyeReport.com. He is on his way to Michigan, getting ready for the basketball matchup as the men take the hardwood against the Wolverines. Big Ten game number 2. We'll talk about that. The strong start to the season, and we'll get into that as well as some football talk and recruiting talk with Tom Kakert. But we're starting recruiting here today, and Iose Epenesa, I think everybody understands that Iose, he is going to be the star of this class. And you look at the recruiting services, this is a top 100 kid. This is a kid that is a 4-star by all the services and a big-time player. A guy that can get to the quarterback, maybe a little bit shorter than AJ was, but already probably developmentally, maybe even a little bit bigger than when AJ Epenesa showed up on campus. And they're going to need him next year. And if he's going to have the ability to get out there, you feel like with the losses on the defensive line, the losses the last couple of seasons that they've had, some of the struggles that we saw replacing them, certainly throughout the course of this season, that he's going to be a guy that at minimum needs to be a rotational piece for them. And I think the anticipation is going to be that. We know that it's very rare you're going to see a true freshman on the defensive line play anything more than 15, 20 snaps a game, and that's okay. But developmentally, get him out there right away, get him acclimated, and hopefully he's hitting the ground running by the time we get into October, because they're going to need him. They're going to need a player like this. Another question about Iose Epenesa is, how big is he going to get? And as he makes his way to Iowa City, already weighing 265, 270, is this a guy that's going to add even more bulk and get into that 300-pound range? What does that mean from him, a defensive end, and potentially moving inside? But that's down the road. That is at the top of the list. The one guy I wonder about most, and I'm really intrigued by Thomas Meyer, the kid from Clear Lake, tight end prospect. Texas A&M was up here looking at him, Florida State. I mean, there were some big-time programs that had interest in Thomas Meyer. And those kind of programs just don't make visits to Clear Lake. They're not going to see the surf, right? They're making recruiting stops in Clear Lake. It says something special. The thing that I really like about him is just the sheer athleticism that you see from him and getting that dynamic athlete back at the tight end position. They had it with TJ Hawkinson. They had it with Sam Laporta. They've had it in different areas when you had those guys. Noah Fant, the guys that are the uber athletes. Obviously, George Kittle had that, just was banged up throughout the course of his career. Getting that, because what we saw the last couple of years from Luke Lachey, he was so banged up, and we just were never able to see that athleticism. I think Addison Estrenga has a chance to get there if he can have a healthy campaign next year at the tight end position. But with some of the departures that are happening at tight end, Johnny Pacuzzi's already entered the transfer portal or intends to enter the transfer portal. Zach Ortworth, I still think there's a chance for him to continue to grow and improve. But Thomas Meyer, again, doesn't happen a ton, but you do see from time to time some true freshmen. Well, Ortworth was in fact, out there as a true freshman. So that could be a guy to look at just because of his athleticism, getting out there on the field, and really excited about him. The Chicagoland linebacker guys, you got Burke Gotcher from over at Sycamore. He is the second-ranked guy. He is ranked at On3, 116th nationally. 24/7 has him 179. So big-time prospect there. They both have him as a 4-star, as does Rivals. And then Carson Cooney, another kid from Illinois. We'll see. Linebacker, there's only 2 spots when they traditionally now play the 4-2-5 defense with the cash position just isn't a whole lot out there that either of those guys grow. Are we talking about either of them maybe eventually turning themselves out of defensive ends? We'll see on that front. And remember last year also, they brought in some linebacker prospects, a lot of those local kids that they're really excited about what they're going to do. Another big name that we have to talk about is Terrence Smith. And this is a wide receiver, 6'4", 285, top 300 player over at On3. He is a 3-star, all the recruiting services, but Iowa needs wide receiver help, and they need difference makers. I find it interesting, some of the names that are popping up, at least on the foul list for Iowa football, and some of the coaches right now in the portal are wide receivers, but they're more the speed wide receivers looking to add that element to this offense. Jacob Gill, good possession receiver. Reese Vanderzee, good outside physical guy. Let's get a healthy season for him in year number 2. The same thing with Jarrett Bowie. We talked about the way that he run blocked and how well he played, I thought, against Nebraska in that one, in a game where he was targeted, one time in the whole football game. Dayton Howard, another big kind of body prospect, but they need difference makers. And we'll see if Terrence Smith can hit the ground running for them. That's one that's going to be big. Another guy I really like is Lucas Allgaier, and an opportunity to get down in the St. Louis area. It's been so fruitful for Iowa in the past. Had some connections, had a cousin that played baseball here at Iowa. He's developmental, 6'5", 285, excuse me. He's listed here at On3. Still, when I look at him, good offers, nice offer list. Iowa has swung and missed those so many times recently at the tackle position, guys that are going to be tackles, and they just can't afford that. I mean, they got to continue to build the pipeline, and the young guys like a Trevor Lauk, I know they're happy about the early development out of him. You got to start hitting because they've been playing guards at tackle for too long now and just can't afford to do that in today's environment. An interior guy is Joey Van Wetsinga. He'll come in from over at PV. Guy that they're excited about. His brother is entering the portal with the change of the offense and the fullback not being used quite as much. Another one, speaking of defensive line, we talked about Iose Epenesa, is Brad Fitzgibbon. And he's already huge. 6'4", 280 pounds. He's going to be an interior defensive lineman. Again, they need help in the middle. Here's a crazy thing. We know, yes, quarterbacks are going to be the highest priced guys in the transfer portal. Number 2 on that list, though, it's not running back. It's not wide receiver. It's not even offensive line. It's defensive tackles that cost so much because there aren't a ton of them. And when you got a good one, they're going to get paid. I don't know if Fitzgibbon, though, coming in as a true freshman, can even give them rotational piece. 8-12, kind of the reps that we saw from Jeremiah Pittman this year. Is he going to be able to do that? The latest addition, we talked about him a little bit earlier in the week, Alante Dean, who comes in from down in Florida, safety prospect. They beat out Louisville for him. Mason Woods, LeVar Woods' son. What is he? Is he a tight end? Is he a wide receiver? They got to figure that one out. Another tight end coming in this class, Eli Johnson. 6'5", 220 pounds from Wisconsin. He's a big physical tight end. He's going to be the run blocker of the group. CJ Bell, defensive back, cornerback from out in the Northeast, Massachusetts. And Phil Parker, we trust, right, on that front. Nathan McNeil down in Florida, running back that's coming in. We know, obviously, the departure of Caleb Johnson. There's going to be an opportunity there. And for the 2 guys that we saw a bunch this past season with Kamari Moulton, who showed glimpses, Jamari and Jazz Patterson, who we've seen in the past. We'll see, though. Do either of them look like difference makers? I don't think so. I'm excited about Brevin Dahl. I'm excited about Xavier Williams, that bigger running back to go with the speed of Brevin Dahl. We'll see if McNeil can get himself into the mix. The quarterback of the class is Jimmy Sullivan. We'll see. This was a guy that was committed before Tim Lester got there. Tim Lester apparently liked what he saw, though, and they continued to honor the commitment and bringing him in. We'll see. Quarterback recruiting has been poor, to put it mildly. And finally, the last scholarship guy, Drew McPherson, another Illinois kid, safety, 6'1", Tommy Soybean. You know it. He'll be good. That's just the way this goes. With that, we continue here. Locked On Hawkeyes. We'll talk a little more recruiting and get into some basketball as well. Tom Kakert from Hawkeye Report. He will be in Ann Arbor for the matchup against the Wolverines. Iowa, Michigan, taking the hardwood. Big Ten game number 2. And if Iowa can steal one here, whoo, look out. Don't think that's going to happen. We'll talk about that a little bit more with Tom as we continue Locked On Hawkeyes. Look, I love a great deal just as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to, cheer for the Cyclones just to save a couple of bucks? No, it has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, called them on it. Turns out it's really that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process is the time you're going to spend on hold waiting to break up with your old provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. There you'll see that right now all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered in the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigs on unlimited plans. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions do apply. See mintmobile.com for details.
Let's get Tom Kakert in here. Portal open for business soon. You'll be able to pluck out of the portal. It's going to be a fascinating time, is it not, Tom Kakert? Welcome to the program, part of On3 Media, HawkeyeReport.com. Hello, Tom. How's things? Thanks for being flexible, by the way. Appreciate it.
What's up, everyone? I'm nerd commentator Frankie Smith.
And I'm entertainment journalist.
Showcase the official podcast.
I've got some really good friends that live in Ann Arbor, so it's a benefit to me to go there and see them.
Good stuff. Well, since we're starting basketball, let's stay there before we get to the football and what potentially some of the names you're hearing that are, at least I was showing interest in them, and it's being reciprocated. But basketball, a huge win, needed that win in the worst way over Northwestern. Obviously, looked as though it was going to get away. I'm wondering deep down when Peyton Sanford called the timeout, did Fran McCaffrey want that? Do you think, or did he want it to play out? If was Fran asked that?
Yeah, we did talk to him about that after the game, and he goes, he kind of got a smile on his face and said, "Well, it worked out."
Yeah.
But he said he had confidence that Peyton would have knocked that shot down.
Yeah.
He's got more confidence than I did.
Right.
That thing looked like it was not running in the right direction at that point in time, and it would have felt forced. But also, who thinks that a 30-foot jumper from Josh Dix was going to go in either?
Right.
So,
and that baby was pure.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
The sound of the cord
Loved
ripping.
it. Yep.
That was a great one. Well, it's going to be a different type of opponent tomorrow against Michigan. This Wolverine team is big. They are talented. And Dusty May, I said earlier this week, Tom, Indiana fans just have to be apoplectic as they're not watching football and watching their basketball program with that idiot Mike Woodson, who's just brutal. He's just bad. And Dusty May, an alum, is sitting there winning big in year one at Michigan. But that aside, the way that they're built, Iowa struggle on the glass this year. I just think this thing is set up for Iowa's going to have almost a perfect effort to even be hanging around. How do you see it?
yeah, they start 2 7-footers, and that's something you don't see very often in college basketball today. But Danny Wolf is, it's a kid transferred from Yale. So he's a guy. And so you can do that with Vlad Golden, who was with the Florida Atlantic team that went to the Final Four, and a really good center for them. And they combined for 44 points against Wisconsin and went into Madison and won, which is tough to do. So I think and they're a really big team. I mean, Trey Donaldson's the transfer from Auburn, and he's their smallest guy, and he's 6'3". So they've just got a lot of size and length. They're not super deep. They're probably comfortable playing 7, but I think he's playing about 9. And Damari Burnett's on that team, and he's a really athletic wing player. And and they're shooting it great. I mean, they're shooting over 54, I think just about 40% from three. They don't take a ton of threes. They're a big two team. So they just kind of operate in that area, but it's going to be a really tough challenge for Iowa, especially on the glass, because it's hard to believe Iowa is getting out rebounded for the season by like 2.5 rebounds a game.
That's wild. One more on basketball, Tom. I think so far, I think the most improvement I've seen from one year to another when it comes to a player, that player might be Brock Harding. I love where he's taking his game.
Well, I'm the president of the Brock Harding fan club.
Yep.
So it's been good for business with the Brock Harding fan club in the last few days, but not as many people chirping at me and about how come he stinks. So when he's averaging, and he even got on John Rothstein's radar yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that.
Media.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something. I mean, that was a big moment in for the Brock Harding fan club to see him get on that radar.
Well, I think it was the president's retweet that I saw. So thank you for that.
Yeah, 17-7 a game and just about 8 assists. I mean, he's playing really well, but his hands are going to be full in this one. And the guy that's really, I think, really has to play well for Iowa tomorrow. Besides, Peyton Sanford played really well up there last year. I went and looked back at the box score. He was 6 of 8 from 3 and had 26 points in that game. A win for Iowa by 10 points against that horribly coached Michigan team last year with Juwan Howard. But I think Laje's got to play really well because he did not give him much the other night either. And he's going to have to play really well if Iowa's going to have a shot.
And he has not played well, not just last game, but he's really struggled this season.
Confidence-wise, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Another number I wanted to throw your way, a defensive rating this season, because we know Brock Harding, he's a good offensive player, but we wondered about the defense. He is second on the team right now in defensive rating. Second on the team, behind only Drew Thelwell. You got 2 point guards that can guard. That's a good thing. And yes, he's not your traditional guy. There's going to be certain guys that are going to back him down, but overall, he has improved immensely on that end of the floor, and I think that certainly changes the equation.
Isn't this the best defensive guard court since like Mike Gasol and Staff Clements were in the backcourt guarding people, and it makes a difference when those two are out there playing together. And I think Fran's gotten to be more comfortable, maybe by necessity more than anything else, because Cooper Koch could be out for a while and Seydu's out. So I think they're getting more comfortable playing those guys together, and they're causing a lot of problems for teams.
Hey, is it a shoulder injury for Cooper?
No, it is not.
Okay.
No, it's not. So just a medical issue is all they've given us, but it's not like a traditional injury. So it's non-traditional injury that we'll see. I'm starting to wonder if maybe they'll medical redshirt. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not saying that's going to happen. Right. I'm just wondering if maybe that's going to be where we're at in this. But I think he's still kind of hoping that he can play. I know he wants to play, but it's a matter of getting healthy. And Seydu is going to be out tomorrow, as expected.
Mm-hmm. What about next Thursday?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Because next Thursday is a massive game for both Iowa and Iowa State, I think. Just two back-to-back, the men's and women's games next week.
Yep.
Just monsters at Carver Hawkeye Arena. And hopefully both times they'll be sold out. We'll see. I know one of them will be, but will the other one? Time will tell.
Might be a lot of red and gold in that one, and the different kind of gold that goes along with that Cardinal. One on the women's basketball front, Lucy Olson looks like she's good to go. A significant cut when they were down on their exempt tournament. And Tennessee coming up tomorrow in the Champions Classic. So Lucy Olson, any concerns, though, lingering effects of that big cut on her leg?
No, I don't think so. She's just such she is one of the most happy-go-lucky people I have ever met. I don't care what's going on in her life. It's always a smile on her face. And Even she was even laughing about the tumbling off the court and cutting her knee open, and she kind of joked that she thought she could see the bone. And I was like, oh,
Ooh.
man, that's really deep. It's not comfortable, but she's said she's healthy. She's out in New York City, so hopefully she'll be ready to go. And good test for them. Boy, this is another, big week for both basketball programs because going up against Tennessee and a neutral, and then Iowa State coming in, and Iowa have the men having going to Michigan for true road game, and then Iowa State.
Tom, let's talk about the transfer portal and some of the. I mean, obviously, at the top of the shopping list is a quarterback. Miller Moss would come with what, 1 year, I want to say, of eligibility. And Wigman from A&M is another name that's being tossed out there. He would have what? Would he also have one, or does he have two?
Yeah, I think he might have two, but I'm not positive. I know. Well, I shouldn't say I know. I said I suspect. That they want somebody that I don't see them going for. Somebody brought up like the Kaling kid from Nebraska that went in the portal, came in last year as a redshirt. That he might have some interest in Iowa, but I just don't see them. I think they're pretty excited about Jimmy Sullivan, the kid they just signed, and that he could be the guy in a year or two. And so I don't know that they want a long-term solution, but they want somebody that I think would be an upgrade over Brendan Sullivan. And so we'll see but Miller Moss sounds like there might be too many zeros in that one. But it sounds like the Zoo has made a pretty significant offer, and there's, some talk that Louisville is in there too with a lot of zeros. So I don't think that Iowa can. I think Iowa's not shopping in that bin. I don't think they have the resources, if you will. But this kid, Richmond quarterback, whose name is escaping me right now, that he's a guy that I think Tyler Barnes is following. So that's kind of as Tyler said in his press conference, you guys can track what I'm looking at by looking at who I'm following on social media.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the quarterback stuff, though, goes through agents. It's not even like followed on social media, but some of the other kids.
Wickersham, is that his name?
I can't remember. I don't think it is.
Okay.
But
I just Googled because I have no idea what you're talking about either.
Yeah, but he's a kid that that Tyler Barnes is following. So, but is he an upgrade over Brendan Sullivan? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. But the room's kind of thinning out a little bit with even though Reesar had switched positions. They're getting some things off the books, I guess is how you would term it. And the other thing they've got you've got kind of the other plate that's spinning that you got to figure out too is, are you going to be able to get some guys back who have an extra year, like Logan Jones is thinking about coming back. Ethan Herkett is.
Boy, that'd be great if he can come back. Both of them.
Yeah. I mean, and that helps. That's you almost have to look at those guys like they're portal guys, and we're filling the void here. But if you get your starting center back and your starting D end who's playing better than any D end that they have on the roster, right there with Max Llewellyn right now, those two, as a starting combo at D end, that would help immensely for Iowa football next year.
No doubt. HawkeyeReport.com. Tom Kakert. Thank you, Tom. Obviously, a recap of the signing day early in the week. All the information on comings and goings in the portal with Tom. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and we have Blair Sanderson just put up a big portal list of all the people that they're following and put that together.
Good.
It's on our front page right now. So everybody, you want to get caught up on who they're following, who they're looking at in the portal, that's up on our front page right now at HawkeyeReport.com.
That is absolutely great news there and great information. Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com. You're a fan of recruiting, the transfer portal, seeing exactly what's happening. Tom and Blair and the whole crew over there do a great job keeping you informed. HawkeyeReport.com. Let's get a little bit deeper into the matchups coming up this weekend on the hardwood. Iowa, Tennessee on the women's side, Iowa, Michigan on the men's side. We'll talk about both of those games when we come back. This is Locked On Hawkeyes. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers, you can bet $5. You're going to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more right there on the same page where you're placing your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet with FanDuel and online at FanDuel.com. Tomorrow, Iowa, a 8.5-point underdog against Michigan. Big 12 championship game. Iowa State currently a 1.5-point underdog against Arizona State. They got you covered. And of course, NFL Sunday right around the corner. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Trent Condon back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. And as always, thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Let's talk a little basketball to wrap things up. By the way, Camden Coleman is the Richmond quarterback's name that Tom was searching for there. Camden Coleman has had a nice career, 2 years in, and good win-loss record. Nice total. Looks like he can move around a little bit. Seen a couple of highlights of him and taking a look at some of the numbers. We'll see. Need a starter. Need a guy that can come in and maintain that. Their starting quarterback is not on campus right now. They need to find who that guy is going to be. It's Michigan for the Iowa men's team, and not a very good matchup. Tom mentioned the 2 7-footers. Danny Wolf, who comes in from the Ivy League. Also Golden, who came with their new head coach, and Dusty May made his way in from Florida Atlantic. So they're big. They rebound incredibly well. They're really good defensively. These are things that don't normally go the Hawkeyes' way. I think Todd brought up something very pertinent. Dembele might have to play his best game of the season and maybe his career for Iowa to hang around. We find out that there will, once again, with that ankle sprain, Seydou Traore will not be out there for the Hawkeyes. That is impactful. His athleticism, ability to get to the rim, help out the front end of that defense. Not going to have him. Not a whole many other directions they can go. Is it Evan Bronze? Is it Riley Mulvey? Who's going to be the guy off the bench? They need another big. Will Freeman get some foul trouble? What are they going to do? It's concerning. I hate this matchup for Iowa. And unfortunately, I don't think this one's going to go very well. Iowa is an 8.5-point underdog currently at FanDuel as we record. Not great. Going to take a lot, I think, for this team to have a chance to get it done. The women, on the other hand, though, they get Tennessee. Normally you'd say, who? Tennessee? That's a little scary, right? Tennessee's undefeated. Tennessee, though, has not exactly played a who's who of college basketball. Samford, 1-8. Tennessee Martin, 1-8. Middle Tennessee, who's a decent mid-major, pretty good mid-major, I should say. Liberty, 3-3. Western Carolina, 4-4. And their best win came in the SEC ACC Challenge as they beat Florida State by 2 at home. Iowa should win this game. Iowa, I don't want to say comfortably, but my biggest concern is what we're going to see from Lucy Olson. Coming off that knee injury, Tom said he doesn't believe it. You talk about a gash like that, though. I don't know. I mean, just it feels a little bit off. That it's just good to go, going to be ready, going to show no signs of wear in this one. That would be my biggest concern on this front, is that part of it. And if you have suddenly some more issues that crop up, that's what I'll be keeping my eye on. Don't have a point spread yet for that one. Anticipate Iowa will be a favorite in the game, but There's a lot more that goes into it than just that. And Neutral Court going to be out there in New York City. Tennessee women's basketball fans, they travel. They travel in a big time way. So that'll be a fun one to keep an eye on and see what the spread is when that one comes out. Iowa, this is a big step up in competition, and they've been able to answer the bell. Now we're ratcheting things up. Iowa State coming up this week, both the women on Wednesday, then the men on Thursday. Big week coming up on both sides of things. If the men can split these next two, you feel in great shape. You get either a road win against Michigan to go to 2-0 in the Big Ten, or beat a 6th-ranked Iowa State team, even in your home floor, you're feeling really good. For the Iowa women, I'm thinking sweep. Expectations are high. Jan Jensen's undefeated in her coaching career. Let's keep it going. Let's have a great weekend. Hope everybody enjoys it. We will be back with you recapping everything that we see on the hardwood. The wrestling team on the mat coming up on Friday against Army and Princeton. Got that going on and a whole lot more. Plus, we will know Iowa's bowl destination come Sunday. Music City, Nashville, here we come. I know there's plenty of Hawkeye fans that would be just fine with a road trip to Nashville. Thanks for being with us, and thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Go Hawks.